Alright guys, today we're going to be doing a factory replacement Raptor install. This is the 100 gallon an hour, and we're going to be installing it on my 2001 Dodge Ram. I know she's not the prettiest truck in the world, but she is a completely factory truck, so it is going to be perfect for the installation. So before you open your kit, you're going to want to make sure that the factory seal is there and verify the part number. This is the R3SBD 100, and that is for 100 gallon an hour. So we'll go ahead and open up the kit. The first thing you're going to see whenever you open up the kit is the instruction manual, and your warranty information is time sensitive and it is in this packet. So make sure you open that up and send in your registration card, or you can do it on pureflowairDog.com so we can get you registered for your warranty. We're going to have our customer service O-ring kit. This is basically just down the road if you were to ever have an O-ring issue. This is something we like to include. Just throw these in the glove box for now because you're not going to need them for the installation. This is your hardware bag. These are going to be the 2 Allen head bolts that will basically mount this to the factory, mount the pump to the factory standoff on the side of the engine block. And these are going to be your quick connect fittings. You can see. This is going to be your 2-foot section of 1/2-inch hose. Some packing foam in here, we'll get out of the way. And next we have the Raptor itself. Let's go ahead and pop this protective cover off of it so you guys can get a better look at it. And like I said guys, the nice thing about these kits is they are going to mount directly in place of your factory lift pump. So it is extremely easy to install these, and they are a really good pump. So we'll get the rubber band off here. And yeah, let's go ahead and we'll get started. Alright guys, before we can get into our installation on the fuel pump, we need to kind of make ourselves some room. So the first thing we're going to remove is our intake pipe. So there's an 11 millimeter right here for this clamp. We're going to take that loose. We have a 10 millimeter here for our dipstick. And we have 4 10 millimeters right here that hold our intake horn down to the shelf. Once we get that out of the way, the factory fuel bowl, there's 2 10 millimeter bolts right here on the top of this. We're going to just kind of take those loose. There is also a line that runs from the back side of this down to the factory lift pump. So we want to be careful, you know, not to damage anything or break any of the connectors on the fuel bowl, because there's a couple connectors that plug into it. So let's go ahead and grab our tools and we'll start pulling this stuff apart. Now that we have our intake pulled off, we want to make sure that we cover up these. There's a hole here in the intake and here in the charge pipe. We don't want to accidentally drop crud down in that, or even a bolt or something. That would be really bad. So we're going to just take some shop rags. We're just going to kind of cover these up a little bit just to verify that we don't drop anything in our engine, because like I said, that'd be pretty bad. All right guys, now that we have our fuel bowl and our intake out of the way, we're going to start with removing the in and out lines to the factory Carter pump. You guys can see it down here on the side of the engine block. It's going to take a 17 millimeter wrench and we're simply just going to remove the outlet line and the inlet line. It's on the back, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a banjo fitting, and we do want to go ahead and actually remove that in one piece because we are going to be reusing that. So be sure not to damage that while doing the removal. And before we take our lift pump out, we want to actually unplug that 2-pin Deutsch connector. This is where the lift pump actually gets power. Alright guys, before we actually mount the Raptor on the side of the engine block, I'm going to go ahead and remove the outlet plug and the inlet plug as well, so I don't have to whenever I'm inside of the truck. And we're going to use a 7/8 wrench to tighten this up. And now we're going to get our mounting hardware and get ready to mount this on the side of the block. All right, now we have our 3/16 Allen wrench, and we're going to mount this. The way this is going to mount, the electric motor cap is going to be facing the driver's side fender, so it'll just literally sit on the side of the block like this. So these 2 bolts are going to go downward through the plate and thread in. We only use 2 holes on this to mount it. Let's go ahead and we'll stick this thing in real quick. All right guys, now that we got our pump mounted on the side of the engine block, we're gonna install our 2 sealing washers on the inlet fitting on the banjo bolt. One will go on the face of the bolt, and then one will go right up against the pump. So we'll go ahead and switch these out. These are really nice pieces that we include because 9 times out of 10, the ones on there are gonna be crusty and they're gonna leak. So let's go ahead and get these installed. We're now going to take our 2-foot section of hose. We're going to take our 1/2-inch 90-degree quick connect. Now these are a push bar fitting. You'll basically push it into the hose, but it will be extremely difficult to do this unless you use some type of lubricant. So I'll lubricate the fitting first. Clean motor oil. I'm gonna rotate it around a couple times, make sure it's good lubricated. And then all in one motion, I'm gonna bend over here to do this because I kind of use my legs too. Push it in. You can see it's completely sunk. So what we're going to do is we're going to snap this onto that 3/4 O-ring Boss to 1/2-inch quick connect fitting that's coming out of the Raptor pump. So we'll snap it on, and then just to kind of make it easier to work on the fuel filter housing, we're actually going to stick the bolts back in it and get it mounted back up where it's going to go. Fuel bolt is mounted back in place. This is going to be the inlet from the factory lift pump right here on the back of this filter canister. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our 17mm wrench. I know it's kind of hard to see it, so bear with us, but we're going to take this banjo bolt loose here. So we'll go ahead and get this loose and get it out of the way, and then we can thread in our WAP 102. It's going to be the part number in the installation manual, and that is a 12mm to 1/2 inch quick connect. All right guys, now we're going to install our part number WAP 102. This is 12mm to 1/2 inch quick connect, and you're going to want to make sure, guys, make sure you put the final sealing washer on the back side of this. It has to go on there or it will leak. So we'll put that on there like that, and we're going to thread that right into where we just removed that banjo bolt on the back side of the filter housing. Our fitting installed on the back of the filter canister. We got our cutters, and we're going to cut that hose to length so that way we don't have any access kind of flapping around. So I'll jump up here and kind of hold this hose up to where it's going to go. That right there, once we, take into account you need to press your fitting in. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut that right off. Okay guys, now that we have our hose cut to correct length, we're actually going to go ahead and remove this 1/2 inch hose back out from the truck. That way we can push lock that fitting in on the bench, because it'll be a lot easier. It'll be pretty tough to cut that thing when it's up inside the truck like that. Okay guys, now that we have our fittings both pushed into our hose, we're going to snap it back onto the factory replacement Raptor. The other end of it will clip onto the factory fuel bowl. Alright, congratulations guys, you now have your factory replacement Raptor installed. All we got to do now is power intake horn back on the truck, go through it, bleed the injection system, and we can fire this thing up.